I did bring my books with me. I don't know whether I needed them or not, but they just follow me around.
I mean, that's the most prepared I think anyone's been.
Oh, is it? Well,
talking in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, I guess, that we can cover.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you're ready?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that makes it sound dreadfully impending. Yeah. Welcome to Young at Concrete Podcast, Ron.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good. For anyone listening, I've got Ron Booth with me, and I want to call you a poet.
Well, poet, creative writer, yeah.
Yeah, because I know obviously you're more. I've never seen you perform poetry.
No.
But I know you've got a heavy hand in organising things.
Yeah, well, I belong to
Lincoln.
the collective Outspoken.
Yeah.
Which someone you know quite close, Charlotte Greenlee, she's involved with that as well.
Yeah. How did you get involved with Outspoken?
Right. Perhaps I ought to go back a little bit so that it will give you a bit of a history, and then we'll come to present day in the poetry scene in Lincoln.
Okay. How did you get started?
Well, I got started in 2014 by joining Lincoln Creative Writers Group.
Okay.
That's run by a guy called Steve Court, who is a teacher. He's an actor, he's a playwright, and he's also involved with Lincoln Inspired. But at that time I had taken voluntary redundancy to look after my wife, who's in the very late stages with MS.
Okay.
That was in 2011. By 2014 I found myself with depression. And in March of 2014, two things happened. I came across a mindfulness coach on Facebook who lived in Australia.
Okay.
And I got involved in that, and that did actually help me quite a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time as he was teaching me all this stuff about meditating and working on things about letting things go, he also suggested I go out and do something, because I'd been in this bubble of just looking after somebody who wasn't well. So I looked on Facebook and stumbled across Lincoln Creative Writers, and I went up in the attic. I thought I'll look for some old books. I had loads of poetry books that I'd already bought, but when I lifted them out, there was some journals in the bottom, and there was poems in there I'd written.
Yeah.
And when you haven't seen something for probably about 30 years, I thought, did I write that? And there was a few that appeared to be unfinished.
Yeah.
So I decided to finish them. And you know, when you was younger and probably your mum chucked out an old pair of shoes or an old jacket that you always put on, and no matter how raggy it was really comfortable. When I started doing that, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
It felt so comfortable.
Yeah.
So I went along to Lincoln Creative Writers. It was a free event. They run it on the third Sunday of every month at the Victoria pub, 2 till 5. And I thought it was going to be a load of arty-farty people. They're going to look down their nose at me. I've got no MAs and no qualifications. But they were the most welcoming people you could come across.
Yeah.
And so I took part in that day's exercises, and I was amazed what was drawn out of me. The exercise that day was to name a rock band that you'd invented, then name the album, then put tracks down of the album, then give a synopsis about each member of the band.
Yeah.
And then choose one of the tracks and write a song about it, or a poem, whatever you wanted. And because I had previously, the year before, had my grandson living with me who has Asperger's, and he wasn't getting on very well at home with his mum, and he'd been in trouble. So I agreed that he could come and live with me, because I'm at home all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of this dark stuff came out because learning about someone on Asperger's and only seeing them every few months, but when you're 24/7, and it was a roller coaster ride. And cut a very long story short, he ended up with suicidal thoughts, got arrested at my house, and then sectioned. He's doing really well now, though.
Yeah.
He'll be soon back out in the community. But all of this stuff came out in my writing. And I named the band, it was some heavy metal thrash band. I can't remember the name I chose, but it was really dark. And for some reason, I chose the fact that they'd gone to Bulgaria.
Right.
In the story, and each person in the band had met on this ghost tour of doing these different castles and houses in Bulgaria, but they all had something tragic that had happened in their life,
which brought them together.
And so when I came to the bit to write the poem and then the story behind the poem, I imagined that they got famous. This guy who was the lead singer, whose girlfriend had committed suicide in a hotel. And he'd gone back there, and he was actually staying in the room where she committed suicide. And I had this tune that I named Dance With Me. And it was all about him on his dark moments, imagining that she was there and dancing with her because of their love. But that was there at Lincoln Creative Writers, and I had a great time. I also discovered that writers and poets can't half drink.
That does seem to be one of those things that every time you attend an event, you're like, there's a lot of booze going on. I don't quite know what it is, but everyone seems to be pretty far gone.
They're all great people, but the thing was that I remember it vivid as day. 3 o'clock in the morning the next day, I woke up and I have thoughts and words running through your head. And I just had to get up, and I went into the lounge and I got my pen, and I've only ever written 2 other poems since like that, where I didn't have to edit it. It just went straight on the page. But what it was, I had the basic story of what I've just told you, but obviously what came out with my grandson, of him having suicidal thoughts, and I'd asked him on one day, what's going on in there? And he said, oh, I'm not sure if I should tell you. I said, no, tell me. I said, we've always talked together. So he said, I don't want you to think I'm mad, but I hear a voice. But during the conversation, it wasn't a voice. It was like we all do with our conscience.
Like an internal,
So what it seemed that came out onto the page was I interpreted it as being death taunting him to take his own life. And so I ended up with this poem that was quite lyrical, and it also had a chorus to it. And it was about death just taunting someone to do the deed. And then when I had the courage to perform it, a lot of people said, I like it, but why did you actually have to have them take their life at the end? I said, because it happens. He didn't, as it happens. He got sectioned, and that was a big help for him really now. But that really is the story behind that. And then from there, Steve Court, who was running the Lincoln Creative Writers, had also taken over from someone called Lyndon Green, who set up a spoken word night at the Jolly Brewer. But they were moving on to Cambridge, so Steve Court took it over, compares it and runs it. And at that time, apart from a few odd poetry groups in and around Lincoln that would meet, not particularly do anything, they would share poems, but it was the only platform for people just to get up in front of a mic and see where it went. So I started March 2014 at Lincoln Creative Writers. By September 2014, I was doing spoken word. And I got bitten by the bug, to be honest.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster, just kind of running into it.
And then I kept asking people then, there's lots of events going on up and down the country. Would you like to travel to some of them? Because I'd looked at some of the videos, and what I saw was amazing. You know, I wanted to experience it. None of them seemed keen. In January 2015, Gemma Baker joined the writers group. Very quiet spoken. She was then not like the very.
I was just thinking, quiet spoken is not something I'd associate with Gemma.
No, on the first day there, when we were doing the exercises, And in between, they were saying, right, now it's your turn to read round the table.
Yeah.
She went, gulp.
Yeah.
I've got to read.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got on so well. She's one of those people you can get on well with. And we discussed in the bar that time about spoken word. Said I'd asked all these people if they wanted to go. Nobody did.
Yeah.
She was up for it. So we went several times every month
Yeah.
to spoken word events. Was absolutely amazed at the standard that was there.
Yeah.
The Jolly Brewer was good, great, but seeing all this stuff, it was like you're elevated to another level.
Yeah.
And so that carried on, and we kept doing it, and people kept saying, oh, we can see a difference in your performance and your writing.
Yeah.
And then by October 2015, I'm always looking for theatre events. I like to go to the theatre, but I discovered at the Cast Theatre at Doncaster, which at that time was newly opened, that they had an event on called the People's Republic of Poetry.
Okay.
By a collective called Firma Poets, and they'd been doing a national tour. And it also said a free 2-hour workshop of spoken word.
Okay.
So I said to Gemma, would you like to go? It's in the daytime.
Yeah.
It means for the workshop we've got to be there for 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And the evening thing didn't start till 7. So we went along, we went to the workshop, walked in there and thought, not many people here. I expected more people to take it up.
Yeah.
And they said, oh no, we limit it to 9
Oh.
because you're taking part in tonight's show. You know, so it was in one of the studio rooms that held 50 people. It was sold out.
Yeah.
And so in the workshop, we'd brought our words with us. They said, choose one piece and we'll run through it first time, give you a bit of constructive critique, then go for a break, then come back and do it again and see if you've picked up on what we've asked you to do. We did that. It was really great. We felt, you know how you get a buzz about something? And then they did the first half of the show.
Yeah.
And then the first half of the second part was all 9 of us sat on stage getting up to do our piece. But I don't know, it was just like somebody sprinkled fairy dust and you felt elevated to do it. You didn't want to disappoint the people who had been tutoring you. And everybody in that group just did a fantastic job. So we did that, and then in the car, and Gemma and I talked about we need something like this in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Cut a long story short, by December November, December of that year, Mouthpiece Poets was formed, and that built up to collective about 12 or 13. And then we got events that were running at the Drill Hall, and we really great. You know, it all went really well. Unfortunately, there are some people with any group who are a bit toxic is the only word I can use. Yeah. And it got a bit too much for Gemma. Yeah. And so she decided to step away from it and take the sites down and everything we had. So a lot of people was a little bit dismayed by it. At that time, for me personally, my wife was in hospital. It was in February of it got disbanded round about October 2015. Yeah. And then we formed the collective called Outspoken. We all had a meeting and we thought we didn't want it to end. Yeah. It's one of those things, one door closes, another one opens. So we kept together, formed the group called Outspoken Poets, and then we had a meeting about it. Everybody came up with ideas, thought try and get events up and running as quickly as we can. Yep. But with the lesson that we learned with Mouthpiece, the proviso that we all agreed with was whoever goes and sets the event up, there's no tampering or interfering from anybody else. Yeah. if it succeeds or it fails, it's down to that person.
Their event and their responsibility.
So we was allowed to do that, and then there was myself, Nathan Dean, and Charlie Gualtieri. Okay. We all thought about different events. Charlie wanted to do a jazz event,
right.
But at that time she was studying at the uni, so had a lot of work on, so it took a few months before she got that going. Nathan formed a thing called Scratchy Pens, which was like a philosophy-style cafe.
All right, yeah.
And what it involved was the first hour it would be a guest poet.
Yeah.
They would do for that hour their poetry, but in between each poem, people could, if you like, give their critique on it, or, you know, what's the meaning behind that, or don't you think that line should be dropped, and that, you know, some people are good with taking critique, but it was interesting. I went to everyone. It was a monthly event. Then Nathan got let down with the venue he had it at. Took him a month or two to get another venue, which ended up being Coffee Aroma. Did 2 there, which we thought were going well. We got on average, you got about, you know, I think the most would be 30 people it had. But you would have thought for a small place like that.
Yeah, I mean, 30 people in Cafe Roma, that's quite a lot of people.
But he didn't think he was pulling in enough money to make it worth opening late in the evening. So then Nathan had to fold that. He then tried to get something off with, is it Madam Waffle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately that didn't work. And then he has one now at the Crafty Bottle at the Strait.
Oh, yeah.
But I think unfortunately, because of the time lapse in between, you know how you gain an audience.
Yeah.
And it's easy to lose them when you've lost the momentum.
It's always hard to keep the audience kind of when you're between projects, especially. Yeah. And so, I mean, there was lots of good bits in it, but unfortunately, I don't know when he's running the next one because the last one got cancelled. But, you know, fingers crossed he'll get up and running. I mean, I always find it's quite difficult, with, like we were saying, when you have like a collective going.
Yeah.
Especially when you bring a collective of creative types together, who are not necessarily volatile people, but quite emotional people, quite interested in succeeding, but in their own worth. So when it's always such a struggle when you try and organise something between a group of them, which you wouldn't necessarily experience if it was just like a standard event of like, oh, we're arranging a party. It's like, no, this is a creative event, so suddenly everyone's quite personally involved, and they take things quite to heart when putting an event like that together. So it's always nice to see when there is repeat like events going on in Lincoln, because you're like, oh yeah, they're working together. They've figured out how to get that balance between each other and bring something to life.
Yeah, no, it is. You know, I mean, I loved all the people doing it because we had ages that range from one of our youngest members at that time was 14, and then obviously we go on to people like myself who's a bit weather worn with life and everything. But I went to the Birdcage. I thought, looking for somewhere central, I didn't want to use one of the main pubs. I thought I like to support independent people. Walked in there, met Rachel, the landlady, proposed it to her, and she kind of thought, I'm not sure how that worked, but she said, I'll give it a go. Yeah. And her chef at that time, he'd like finished for the evening with his chefing, and he came out and he had the conversation. Spoken word. I can't see that working. You know? So we agreed, and she mentioned it to her husband, who they run the pub together. And because they'd only owned it at that time for nearly a year, they were willing to try different events. So that was in the March, and then we agreed. Well, they wanted me to have a Tuesday or a Monday, and I know from previous things, Monday and Tuesday is death.
Yeah.
For anything
Monday
you
and
want to
Tuesday
put
in
on.
Lincoln do not succeed in any way.
So they said they had all the events on. They said the only thing that we have got on, because they wanted the Fridays and that clear, and the Thursdays sometimes. So I said, okay, the Wednesday. They said, well, as it happens, it's a curry night anyway. Yeah. So I thought, great, we can get food.
A few extra people, food.
So did the advertising, got the logo together. My son, who works for a computer software company, I gave him this rough image that I'd come across on Google Images, and it was a revolutionary fist with a microphone in the hand. I thought, perfect. Outspoken and everything like that. Power to the people. So he worked on it and came up with a poster for it. And we used that poster and put the dates on the birdcage. Then did the first event invite through Facebook. It seemed to be getting a lot of interest.
So your audience kind of grown through word of mouth more than anything else?
Yeah, I've never advertised with flyers and that. I think in today's day and age, apart from a few selective posters in places, flyers are a waste of time because people will bin them. So did the event invitation, and as everybody in Outspoken, I'm sure Charlotte will be able to tell you, that every time I meet somebody new, I can't help but at some point in the conversation, oh, by the way, I run an event.
Slip it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking, I've met you a few times, and I think every time you've met me, you've mentioned it. But that's good. That's solid, consistent advertising, just gradually.
But then I thought, I've been to other events, and I wanted to make it a bit of a mixture.
Okay, yeah.
Some events do all spoken words, some events mix it up with a bit of music and that.
Yeah.
So I opened it up to everybody. Spoken word poetry, writers of flash fiction, comedians, acoustic music.
Yeah.
And I've even told people I'd have a juggler if they turned up. But, you know, that's how it gets.
Yeah.
But on the first night, I got fortunate to get a guy called Drazera. His real name is Umar Hack, and he lives down south near London. Right. But we met this character at one of the slams, because by that time Gemma had set up the Against the Grain slam, which at that time was at the Joiners Arms. Met this colourful character, Drazera. When he saw the event invite go up, he said, oh, could I come and, you know, be the guest slot? So a light went on in my head. Never thought of a guest slot.
Yeah.
You know.
Just bring someone in.
So I could promote him. There was a lot of people who had seen him at different events. But the one thing he was good at on Facebook was promoting everything. So I said, we'll do it. And we came to the first night, and we had no funds. They were letting us try it out. So I thought, if I can get people to donate raffle prizes, we can have 4 prizes, £1 a strip, and that will help to bring money in every month for Outspoken. Yeah. So we did that. There the first night, setting up, testing the mic. We had 70 people turn up. I was just blown away. But I was elated, but at the same time, this is setting me up for a big fall. Yeah. Because they've come out of curiosity.
And you feel like you can't repeat that each week,
But no, it was very successful. Drazera was fantastic in his own way. He does wrestling as well. So he came in his wrestler's leotard type thing, and flashing shoes.
Of course.
So I think for people that went away, that everything, the good vibe, because when you get a big audience, you get a buzz, and the fact of when he was on and he was so different, people talked about it. Yeah. So when it came to the following month, figures were down a bit, but it was around about 35. Yeah. And then over the next few months, it levelled off around about 35-ish, 40-ish. And then as it got to around about September again, figures went up. By September, I said to Chris, the landlord of the birdcage, I've been having special guests every month. they've been doing it as a favour for me, and I'm running out of special guests.
Yeah.
So we negotiated a sum of money that I could pay somebody to do a 30-minute spot, which was great for us because we still get the raffle money. And that's where it's gone from today. And Christmas time, well, November was fantastic. We had a special gift because I could elevate it then to get other people in.
Yeah.
And you had a guy called Frizz Frizzle, who's known as the Song Ruiner. Okay. And we had nearly 70 people in there. Because when we do a count, it's a rough count.
Yeah.
But he brought the house down, and he had his own followers who were twittering it.
Yeah.
And people said, I'm sat here crying my eyes out. And then we had a few more. And then I discovered this girl who came to the Jolly Brewers Spoken Word, which is on the last Thursday of every month. Oh no, I'd actually met her at Richard Daniels' event, which used to be out the Snout.
Yeah.
Never seen her before.
Right.
She only did the one poem, which was quite lengthy, but you could tell straight away the quality of the writing.
Yeah.
But she also performed it and claimed she'd never been in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
Now, I can't help that when I meet somebody like that, I have to go and talk to them. I have to tell them about what we're doing. And I'd like you to be able to join our group, but we'd have to put it out as a vote and things like that. But she did get inducted into the group. And then I discovered that she sang.
Right.
She was trained in opera. She's very petite. Her name is Faye Elizabeth.
Okay.
She's studying at the Bishop Grosset College, English.
Yeah.
But when she was younger, she had also performed in the West End in the original production of Sound of Music.
All right.
So I thought, right.
Yeah.
So I said to her, come to the open... Oh no, I said, well, if you've done all that and I've seen what you've done with your poetry, and I can't believe that you haven't been in front of a microphone before, why not come and do a bit of singing? Yeah. I said, I can pay you even, And she was very humble. She said, no, you haven't seen me do anything yet. She said, I'll come along to 2 of your open mics and I'll do a little bit. And she did, and she brought the house down. Everybody was just blown away. So when she came the second time, I'd only briefly mentioned to her about being the guest in December, because she said, I can do Christmas songs as well, but we hadn't confirmed it. Yeah. But she brought her parents with her on the second one, and after she'd performed, and I said, watch out for that girl because she's going to be a big name sometime. Yeah. But I said, also, you can see her again. She's a special guest here in December. So the deal was kind of done with that. Her parents were really proud of her. I think she's only around about 22. I don't actually know her age. But, very humble and very talented. And it's awesome to meet people like that and get them involved. Because when I joined Lincoln Creative Writers and then the Spoken Word, who Steve Court runs, he's always just wanted to inspire people, know. And so that's where we are today. And tomorrow is the first Wednesday of the month, which is when Uncaged is on. Starts at 8 o'clock. It relies on who turns up for the open mic. Yep. But we do have a special guest. And it happens to be Steve Court this month because it's our first anniversary. We've been going a year, so it's party time.
I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll pass.
I know.
Of course, happy anniversary.
Yeah, but people will have heard the word Uncaged, and hopefully there'll be a big buzz about that night. Because the first time that I had the event there, as I mentioned earlier, it was curry night. Yeah. There was a group of transgender people, and they'd only gone there for the curry. Apparently they go there because it's a welcoming place. And one of them, Miranda, said, what's going on here tonight? So I explained it. I'm not sure about that. But then for successive months they kept coming back, bringing a few of their friends with them, and then you know how you are in between the break, you start talking. I said, do you write at all? and they hesitated. I said, "You're a closet writer." I can tell.
Did Miranda perform at Witter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
Very reluctant, but then 2 months later, I'd written a short poem of what it was like to be a transgender person.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it came to Witter, the event you're on about, she had enlarged the poem, and her confidence had grown, and I just felt so good that somebody had been inspired to do it, written such a personal poem, but it brought the house down.
Yeah.
I mean, we have age ranges that go from people in their late 60s through to students.
Yeah.
But everybody couldn't help but be affected by it. And I gave her a big hug, congratulated her. Yeah. And she was very kind at the Witter event because she...
Sorry, Karen.
Oh, right. Because she mentioned my name.
Yeah.
You know, and how she got involved in doing that.
Yeah.
And I was just proud to see her up there. That Gemma had come to 3 of our events at the back end of last year. Yeah. Had seen the quality of the performers we had there, and asked her to get involved. And now apparently she's been asked to do a talk for the Wellington Institute.
All right. So
it just makes you feel glow from inside that you have been a part of that journey.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's interesting to hear you kind of talk about it as a way of kind of inspiring people, because in a way you've kind of come full circle from where you started out, finding creative as a way of expression and dealing with things. Yeah. But then now you take other people and say, well, come do this and come join us in, you know, the expression of everything. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, we really enjoy it. Yeah. And the thing now, when we have an overview of from when Mouthpiece disbanded and then everything that's happened in between, what we've now got is a poetry scene that Lincoln didn't have with all these different events.
Lincoln's poetry scene in the last 2 years, I mean, I've been in Lincoln 8 years now.
Yeah.
It just seems to have exploded. And I think I've said this to every person. It's just out of nowhere. It just came suddenly, these spoken word nights, and now there's like 7 or 8 different nights. And you're thinking, where has everything come from? It's like we've just been hiding.
Well, I think I've given you a little bit of history where it's come from, and now I'm just so pleased to have been part of it all. Yeah. You know,
it's interesting me and you really, because obviously a lot of people have on quite young on the podcast, and they're in a way they've been creative all their lives. They just kind of pick it up and run with it, and they're in their 20s and 30s and trying to make it as that. So to meet you, obviously picked it up much later in life.
Yeah, as I say, it came along with the mindfulness thing. Yeah. And then I made friends with a life coach in Mexico, of all places. She was Brazilian. Yeah. But we got talking, and then she put me on WhatsApp, and because you see, with disturbed sleep, because when you're looking after someone unwell, 3 o'clock in the morning is like 9 o'clock at night there. So it was handy just to message with somebody. And I was telling her everything that had gone off and everything. She then introduced me to an organisation called Hay House, which I'd never heard of it, but a very large organisation. Yeah. The group that she added me to was a secret group because of people share an awful lot of personal stuff. Yeah. First of all, I thought, what the hell is this? Because, you know, people talking about God and people do what they want. But I'd been to a Catholic school, and if you like, it had done more to turn me away from that. Yeah. But then as I got talking with the life coach, and she introduced me to different bits, and she said, she talked about the books by Louise Hay, who formed Hay House, and also Dr. Wayne Dwyer. So again, I think his books and his videos became a big part of an inspiration to me. But she shared a movie that's on YouTube. It's called The Shift. It's about a 2-hour movie. Okay. And it has Dr. Wayne Dwyer in it, but it also has a story of these 3 or 4 different couples. Yeah. And it revolves like that, around that. And he starts off at the beginning, and every morning he gets up, he wakes up and he says 3 times, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because he doesn't necessarily believe in a God himself, but he is spiritual, and he believes that there is something out there, and mainly based around scientific fact, that everything in the universe vibrates at the same frequency.
Yeah.
And so he said, God is whatever you want to be. And he spent a long time studying all the major religions.
Yeah.
And so on his preamble in this movie, he was talking about everybody in life is born with a purpose. Okay. But with the society that we've created, we're educated how to be.
Yeah.
And it is now up to you to reconnect with your purpose. Some people never do. Some people have something go on in their life. And like me, when I started that writing, it felt so comfortable. It felt like me, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's about everybody, whatever it is, you will know it when it's happened. And he talks about making the first step onto what they call the path. Okay. You know how you get all these things, the journey, and you kind of, should I go with this or not? But I did, and I watched the inspirational things, and they said you can't see the path, it only unfolds before you as you take each step.
Okay.
Might not make much sense now, but it will do as things happen.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of things I can never explain that. Is it coincidence? Is it that, you know?
Yeah.
So, cut long story short, I followed that, and that's what I'm doing now.
So with your work, when you obviously writing, when you started writing, you used it as a way of in a way, venting.
Yeah.
Has that changed a lot now? Do you find your style's changed to what you write about now?
Yes, because in my book, I brought a book out in 2016.
Okay.
Called Eyes Are Windows to the Soul. And as I mentioned earlier, I wrote a lot of personal stuff, some of it dark, some of it, you know, connected with the things I'd had with my grandson who has Asperger's, but also my own personal thing with looking after somebody really in the very late stages. He's not well and had a mini stroke which altered her thought processes, changed her personality. And you're not living with the same person. So a lot of that went in there, but then there's some nice happy stuff.
Yeah.
But once I'd written the book and got it all out of me, I started writing about happier things like hugs and smiles, because my life coach in America, Mexico, not America, had been on these different seminar courses.
Okay.
And she said, I did this exercise. We had to all line up in somebody in front of the opposite sex, stare at them, and then describe how we were feeling. And she said I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's quite a vulnerable thing to have to do.
I said, why? She said, because this person kept smiling, and his smile kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So when she told me that, I thought, how wonderful.
Yeah.
The power of a smile.
Yeah.
So I wrote this short poem called Your Smile. And it was all about the power of a smile and how it can make people feel inside, whether it's a love for somebody or just as a friend or just, you know, a stranger in the street, you know. And I ended it in a positive way, you know, by basically saying, whenever you're out, just smile at somebody. You never know what it can do. And then hugs and and then Gemma and I were travelling to all these different places still, and I got inspired by a painting that a friend had done.
Okay.
It was a painting of a raven-haired lady with like Grecian clothing on that was like see-through, you know, that flimsy type clothing. She'd got a fox's headdress on and was kind of dancing.
Right.
And I looked at that, and at the same time I was messaging a friend on Facebook and flitting between Facebook and Messenger. Took the image and messaged it to my friend Alexander Chambers, who is also a poet and writer and recently brought out her own collection of poems. And she said, I think that's quite erotic. I said, it's funny you should mention that. And I told her the first lines that came into my head.
Yeah.
And it went, I call her the devil, because she makes me want to sin. And when she comes knocking, I can't help but let her in. She is darkness, she is light. She came to me as a storm in the night. And then it goes on and on. Reasonably lengthy poem. I think it's just under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But then it got to a crucial part in the poem. And I suppose at the time I was writing it, I probably had erotica in my head. I must have been reading stuff. Yeah. And erotica is quite a discipline because everything's implied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I must have been playing with that thought, but then it got round near to the last few lines, or as I call it now, the climax of the poem, and it just went. The time has come to feel it deep inside. Let it go, let it flow as a flood. Let it flow over you, the feeling is good. Well, Gemma said to me, after I'd done the... I thought I was talking about internal feelings.
Yeah.
And she just shouted at you, mucky bastard.
I think it's always weird to find, like, I don't know, poetry with sex. It seems to go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Whenever I've been to spoken word events, it's like there's like 3 subjects which come up, which is usually coping with death and internal things, and then coping with love, and then there's always sex, and it's the only kind of art form where you're expecting it. You're expecting somebody at some point to read about sex.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any other art form where you do. Like, you go to photography exhibitions and paintings and stuff like that, and you think, it's like, you might run into it. Someone might do something about it. But with poetry, like, no, someone's definitely going to read it. Someone's definitely going to take that mantle for the evening, and that'll be it.
While Mouthpiece was still going, I did perform it one night at the Mouthpiece Poets event. And we had a friend who we met at a Firma Poets event, Vicky Foster, who now is doing very well with her book and things. And her and Gemma tagged me, my poetry, or that poem, as erotica. Yeah. So once I'd got that tag, I had to then start writing other stuff. So I've now got a small collection I can do. And this year, with the Outspoken group, one of our members in the Outspoken Lincoln Associates, we have an Outspoken page. We obviously have one for the collective Outspoken, but then we thought we wanted to include lots of other people, so we have an open group called Outspoken Lincoln Associates.
Okay. Yeah.
And Erica Griggs, again, who came to the Birdcage, had a lot going on in life, didn't write at that time. But eventually, again, talking with her and badgering her, she wrote something and got inspired. And then earlier this year, I think last year, she got involved with a group in Lincoln, burlesque troupe called the Illuminati.
Yep.
And so she's now come up with the idea of doing an event with them, with the poetry, and and the dancing in the back, over 18s only.
It's not an event you'd want young people.
No. So that is going to be obviously erotica.
Yeah.
Several poets, and she'd asked if we can let them see the poem, and then they're going to interpret it.
It's quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little collaboration between. I always like to see one, especially in Lincoln, where you find 2 different kind of, I don't know what the word is, I don't know, disciplines come together and just form something which could be much bigger in a way.
Yeah, no, well, we was flattered when the idea came up, so we're hoping maybe June, July.
Yeah.
Sometime watch this space.
I mean, no, that's really good. I mean, yeah, it's Lincoln seems to go through kind of phases of creativity, I find, and it just rolls, and all of a sudden everything's going on and everything's at once, and you can't quite attend enough things to support everybody, and then it goes quiet for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it just bursts out again. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just the natural role of the city to do that, but but it's always nice when like with your events, it just keeps going. Yeah. It's something consistent which kind of keeps going, and obviously with Richard Daniels' Crash Course. Yeah. It's there, and it's just kind of persistent at the minute, which is nice.
That event is really awesome. I mean, the way he's rebranded it, and Richard thinks out the box, or he's an alien from another world. I don't know.
It's controlled by the brain.
But no, it's a nice venue, the Angel Cafe, where that is. Yeah. I mean, now that you mentioned it, I guess we should run through for people who want to know what's going on, what there is. There is the Jolly Brewer on the last Thursday of every month.
Yep.
There's Uncaged on the first Wednesday of every month at the Birdcage. Gemma Baker has an event at the new theatre hall called the Word Theatre. Mm-hmm. That is a ticketed event, but she gets well-known poets on the circuit to be the headliner, and it's well worth going to. I've been several times, and performing there on the open mic bit in April. Well, this month. Yeah, we're in April now.
We're in April now.
Yeah. So she's got that. Then she has a thing called the Poetry Green Room, which is on Tentacross Street. If people look these things up on Facebook, you'll find when they are. I can't remember exactly. But that, it's only a small fee to get in, like £2 or something. Or if you pay £10 for the year, then you get in for nothing. And then at the Zing Cafe, she also has the Against the Grain Slam, which has been going for, must be well over a year now. Yeah. And that's going well. So with all of those events, and then I'm sure if they look up, they'll find other poetry groups doing different things. Yeah. Hopefully Charlie will be able to set up a jazz evening. It wouldn't be a monthly event. What she planned was to have it like every 2-3 months, and we've had the last two at Vice & Co. Speakeasy. Yeah.
The tucked away place in there, which everybody knows about.
But it's awesome. It kind of suits that style. Yeah. So maybe she'll kick that off again. And Nathan, he may kick Scratchy Pens off. I don't know. I haven't bumped into him recently because he's really involved now with his own brand. Art Isn't Sexy. And doing plays and things like that.
Oh, we recently went to Nathan's.
I went to Attempts on a Life.
Yeah. What did you think of Attempts on a Life?
Well, Attempts on a Life, it was a very brave first play to put on. It was maybe a little bit confusing. Yeah. You could interpret the story probably how you wanted. Yeah. I mean, I picked up from it that the character, I think her name was Anna, was only ever talked about and wasn't actually physically
never seen.
Seen. Whereas other people thought it was one of the characters.
I think it was an interesting one for me because I don't see a lot of theatre in any way, shape or form. Yeah. And I didn't know what to expect. No. Even though I'd spoken to Charlotte, who was obviously in the play, and she told me little bits of what it would be about and how it would take place. But even then, I had no idea what to expect. So it was really interesting to just go see it and see how it would unfold on stage. Yeah. Because the way it was described to me, I couldn't picture it. No. I couldn't picture how you were going to go from one scene to another in such a space. Yeah. And it was just...
Well, apparently it took them a year of working it out and rehearsing it.
I can imagine it would, though.
And that was at the Terry O'Toole Theatre. Yeah. But that was formed between Nathan and Christopher Clarkson. Yeah. They did Gravitate Theatre. Yeah. But Nathan now is doing some things at the Blue Room under his own brand of Art Isn't Sexy. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, the creativity just keeps
rolling through, and then hopefully it'll keep rolling through. Yeah.
And anybody who's interested, they can always look us up, Outspoken Poets. They can look me up on Facebook. Yeah. Ron Booth, poet, creative writer, or Gemma Baker, or Steve Court. There's people that are just there, only too willing to help. Yeah. Get people inspired.
I think it's an important thing to have especially within a city which is uni based, is somewhere where people can just go and it be in a welcoming environment. I mean, I don't necessarily do spoken word or poetry in any way, shape or form, but I wouldn't be too nervous about going to one of these events and performing something. I mean, even though I have reservations and there's likelihood is slim, but people keep asking. But yeah, it's one of those things that I wouldn't have too many reservations because I would never feel like I was going to be judged at one of these events because I've met the people from these events and they're always welcoming.
Have you been to the Birdcage?
I haven't been to the Birdcage yet. Right. This is the problem with me working nights. If I need to sneak out. And obviously, I've been to Crash Course once. I'm going again for the next one.
Oh, great!
I'm trying to sneak out holidays.
Well, maybe you'll get some time, but I've always been. I don't know. It's nice to get praise, but then when people are doing it in front of me, I kind of want to shrink.
Just suddenly do.
Yeah, because they're so kind, and I think that's right. But the main thing that everybody says, it's so welcoming, and they feel comfortable, and it's with the variety. Because I wanted to get people involved so that we get an eclectic mix of short stories, poetry, musicians. So. Yeah. Hopefully I've pulled it off. We've got to the first anniversary.
Well, I was going to say, you've been going a year. You're still running it, and it's still kicking off. So there's obviously some demand for it, and people enjoy it.
I've got great guests lined up for the future. I've got Frizz Frizzle back in June.
Okay. For
those followers of him.
I mean, I might end up just booking that one off because you've sold it to me. Right. In terms of this was an event to be at. Like,
well, you only need to ask Nathan, Charlie, and any of them. And Charlotte, I think she was there. I can't remember. But then I go to the Jolly Brew open mic, which is on every Wednesday. Yeah. And this last 2 times, I'd seen this girl, Christina Truman. Okay. Never seen her there before. First time she was there with a partner. He was playing the drum box or whatever. Okay. She was on like acoustic guitar. But you know how you sat there and you're talking to somebody and then suddenly you get this chill down your spine. Right. And I thought, wow. And I went up to her and I said, I run this event. I wouldn't mind you as a special guest. I said, I've never seen you before. Yeah. I've only heard you do the 2 songs. Yeah. But I think what you did was great. And she was very cute. She put her fist together like that. I've never been paid for doing anything. So I said, well, you know, I'll pay you for half an hour slot. And told her what the money was. And she was well happy with that. Then I saw her over a week ago again, performing there on her own. And said, could I send you a friend request? And then messaged her and confirmed to have her in July for the special guest slot.
That sounds good.
But she's a local singer-songwriter. Yeah. And when last March, we had the Witter Witches that were there. International Women's Day. Yeah. You know how I spoke earlier about how things can happen and unfold. Yep. I'd booked Sarah Hughes as a special guest months before. Right. Before I even know it was International Women's Day. Yeah. Before that Gemma and Melody and Sarah had put up about women in the arts event. Yeah. So when I looked at it, I thought it's like the universe has aligned everything.
Preempting.
So the whole theme that night was to turn it into International Women's Day. And I did a poem that I'd written for Outspoken for the group. But when I looked at International Women's Day, what it stood for, what had been happening earlier in the year with the Me Too campaign and women speaking out about the equality in being paid, I thought the words, they just fit it perfectly. And so I thought, well, I'll just warm it up a bit after selling International Women's Day. I promoted their thing, but there was no point because they'd sold out anyway.
I think that was one of the events, I don't even think they kind of realised how big it would be. And then, but every time you spoke to them, it was like, we've sold out. Yeah. Didn't realise we would sell out. It's like, that was a roller coaster.
Yeah. But I did the poem, and I said, I'm doing these words now relating to your thing. Yeah. And I was just amazed. People went crazy and thought, but you really, when I look at it now, the poem is for anybody not to be afraid and to be outspoken,
Yeah. And that's a nice sentiment to bring to anything you're going to do. I think it's great when you make something and then you show or perform someone to someone, and they take something away from it which you hadn't even thought about. Is you just kind of give them it, and you go, "Oh, this is something I made. It's about this, this, and this," and then they'll come back to you and go, "Actually, it might be about something else which you're not quite realizing." You think, "Oh, damn, yeah, that's a whole area I'd not explored, and I couldn't even comprehend to bring into it." So I think definitely. I mean, that's again why open word nights are important, because you get your feedback.
And there was a lady who came that night, and it's a shame, you might know her. She does a blog and goes around doing it. Lindsay, her name is Lindsay.
I don't remember.
I wish I could. I should have really written everything down on a piece of paper. When you get to my age, stuff just zooms out.
I think there's too many things to mention at times.
But she did an interview about Uncaged, and I've seen it online, and she was, very, very good about it.
Yeah.
So she put on the preamble thing. We went along to Uncaged, didn't know what to expect, but we were impressed. Yeah. So I thought you can't get much better than that, really.
I think that brings us around to a nice point to end on.
Yeah.
In that people need to remain, creative, outspoken, as it would be, and get along to events.
And not only creative,
but
have the courage to follow the path to do something out of your comfort zone.
Definitely, yeah. And that you can start at any time, and you never know where you'll end up. You might be running a night for you.
Well, you never know.
You definitely know. Well, thank you for coming, Ron. It's been fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. An hour has gone by
it has, and
so
it always
quickly.
Does. Yeah.
And my friends tell me that I can talk for infants, so I could have probably gone on for another hour.
I was warned. I was pre-warned. So it was like, Ron will talk. I was like, okay, that's good though. It fills time.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. No, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much.
No worries. And we'll talk to these guys later. There you go.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, thanks very much.